Andor is drama. Andor is tension. A deep character-driven narrative reminiscent, to me at least, of House of Cards or The Crown or even the first few seasons of Game of Thrones. This show is truly something different and special in the world of Star Wars entertainment. Perfectly shot. Incredible dialogue. It's great Star Wars, yeah, but it's just plain great television, too. It's not just chock full of references or familiar faces or Easter eggs. It's fresh, it's new, and to me, it elevates the franchise. I don't usually give this amount of praise out for Star Wars stuff, because a lot of it is meh, but Andor, man, Andor, expertly crafted, a fine wine. How I love to drink all of your delicious goodness. This video is brought to you by FanHome. FanHome has created a subscription service that brings informative Star Wars encyclopedias or fun build-up models to your door every month. Get lost in all the details of your favorite saga. What are the different kinds of droids? Want to see the schematics of the Millennium Falcon? Learn about characters or weapons or technology and much more? Every volume in this incredible encyclopedia collection is jam-packed with information every Star Wars fan wants to know. There are 91, yes, 91 total books in this complete Star Wars encyclopedia collection. This thing is enormous and expansive. Every month you'll receive 4 volumes of the encyclopedia, 4 volumes per month. And while you're subscribed, you'll occasionally receive subscriber gifts like posters, coffee mugs, things like that, random gifts with your normal encyclopedia subscription. These volumes cover the entire chronology of the Star Wars saga, from the prequels to the Rise of Skywalker and beyond, with new characters and adventures from the latest TV series, including the last season of The Clone Wars and The Mandalorian, blueprints, schematics, thousands of photographs, jam-packed with information. Take a look at this volume about the Millennium Falcon that I have. It's 72 pages of details, most of which I never knew. Information about the hull structure, the gyro computers, life support systems. It goes into the specific modifications that Lando made. The detail in this volume is impressive, most impressive. And every volume is filled to the brim with that level of detail. If you're a fan of hyper detail in Star Wars, and let's face it, most Star Wars fans are, then subscribing to the FanHome Star Wars Encyclopedia will be right up your alley. You can cancel anytime, you get special gifts. These volumes are officially licensed, and there are 91, yes, again, 91 total volumes of encyclopedias in the full collection that would look so wild and huge on a bookshelf. If you're looking to get something for a fellow Star Wars fan this holiday season, a FanHome subscription is the gift that keeps on giving all year round. 4 volumes every month, special gifts. Man, it'll be December of the next year and you'll still be receiving your Star Wars gift from the previous year's holiday season. Check out the link in the video description below for more information and how to get started with your FanHome subscription. Andor is one of the best things to happen to the Star Wars franchise. It's so good. It's hard to believe how good it is. So much of modern Star Wars, and look, I like some of what Star Wars has done under Disney. Most of it I'm kind of iffy about, but a lot of it is wonderful. There are some great gems in the mix, but there's also a lot of it that I just kind of shrug my shoulders at and go, meh. And there's nothing wrong with that. Back in the day, there was a lot of Star Wars that I liked and a lot of Star Wars that I didn't like. It's always been that way. It's the same today. No reason to get bent out of shape. You just say, hey, maybe I'll like the next thing a little bit more. Not much has changed. Anyway, a lot of modern Star Wars feels very heavy-handed on the fan service. Familiar faces popping in and out. A lot of, hey, we've seen this before. Hey, we've seen them before. And a good example of that is the second season of The Mandalorian. Now, as much as I did thoroughly enjoy it, it kind of left me behind a bit. I loved the first season so much because it was new and fresh, new characters. You know, it didn't throw in a bunch of familiar faces and things that we're familiar about. I'm the type of Star Wars fan that doesn't really enjoy seeing familiar faces chances over and over and over again. I'm the type of Star Wars fan that wants new characters, new stories, new situation. When somebody tells me that they want a Darth Vader movie, I'm like, hey man, we've seen a lot of Vader. There's so many other tales to tell. I want new things to take new chances, all that jazz. Easter eggs. Easter eggs don't do anything for me. I mean, I guess unless they're really cleverly and subtly done, Easter eggs often feel kind of like a cheap trick. I do not care about Easter eggs. Like, I don't know. Just whatever, man. Cool. Something you saw before is in a new thing. Okay. Easter eggs do not a good story make. Do not a good story make. Does that make sense? Did I say that right? And yeah, sure, Andor is somewhat of a familiar face because we saw him in one movie, but the show steers far and clear away from the trap of constantly needing to be filled with the familiar. Leaning on nostalgia and the recognizable hurts a franchise, in my opinion. It kind of squashes the creative juices, in my opinion. You just start to feel like you're mulching over the same stuff, in my opinion. Andor, on the other hand, Andor breathes a breath of fresh air into the ever-expanding lungs of our most beloved franchise. My buddy texted me, quote, "If it's too slow, I don't know what to tell you. You have bad taste and are a child." Close quote. What a jerk. What a jerk. But I kind of agree. The term slow burn constantly gets thrown around. I get it, I guess. I mean, Andor could be described as that, I suppose, whatever that means, but just because there's not a lot of boom boom bang bang going on in the first few episodes doesn't mean it's slow. They created intrigue, they created questions, they created a tone that is different than any other Star Wars production we've ever seen, diving deep into character motivations, the state of the galaxy, the working class. Slow? No, it's drama, it's not slow. The first few episodes are among my favorite chunks of Star Wars television we've ever gotten. Exploring the factional elements of all parties involved, learning the complicated motivations of each and every character, their history, why they are the way they are, what they believe in or don't believe in, the connections, corporate soldiers and an imperial component that guides them, a ragtag bunch of rebels, mysterious characters. I love it. Another thing that I frequently hear, and not just with Andor, and this is kind of a weird thing to define, is that it, quote, doesn't feel like Star Wars. What does that mean? What is Star Wars supposed to feel like? You know, when I was 13, The Phantom Menace came out, and I remember people saying, you know, it didn't feel like the old stuff, which is, I think, true. But, you know, if the prequels just felt like the original trilogy, then a lot of you kids that love those movies wouldn't have those movies. You know, things evolve, things change. And if every single Star Wars production followed a predetermined checklist of what Star Wars should feel like, wouldn't things get stagnant quickly? I mean, they would for me at least. They do for me at least. A loner saving a village or something is cool, but we've seen that a lot. We've had a lot of Jedi and Sith, a lot of Skywalkers, a lot of Vader, a lot of Kenobi. This is different. Tonally, character-wise, story-wise. It's like an episode of Game of Thrones meets Mission Impossible meets A Bourne Identity meets House of Cards, all tossed into a blender and poured ever so gently into your favorite cup of morning coffee. Andor sets the bar for what future Star Wars can be. That's not to say every future project needs to feel or be similar to Andor. Now, what I mean by that is, this proves the formulaic nature of a lot of modern Star Wars content can be broken, and a new fresh perspective on how stories in this universe can be told. I love Favreau and Filoni, but so much of their stuff feels so similar to so much of their other stuff. And while it's often fun and enjoyable, it sometimes feels like we're mulching over the same stuff. Andor is different. The dialogue in Andor is fantastic. It's long, it's filled with depth. A favorite character of mine is Cyril Karn, not because I like the guy, but because he's interesting. His motivations aren't totally clear to us just yet. The corporate soldier, the company man, thought he was doing the right thing, steadfast in his beliefs, and his imperial overseers strip him of everything he worked for. He's lost. He thought he did a good job, thought he did the right thing. He's searching for guidance. And he's angry. And as I'm typing the script, we don't necessarily know what his next move will be. I love that about that character. And I love seeing the power dynamic of the galaxy from his perspective. And I'm incredibly curious what he will do moving forward. I think his character is so unique in the realm of Star Wars storytelling. And another little interesting component is Cyril talks to his mother about wanting to fulfill this like great purpose. You know, being a part of something greater than himself, I suppose. But Cyril's mother is really only looking out for her own personal status. And Andor, on the other hand, Andor talks to his mother about wanting to run away and basically looking out for himself, while his mother believes in a cause greater than herself. That those two relationships are the inverse of one another. It's interesting. Andor doesn't feel like it's pandering. It doesn't feel like it's shoveling recognizable elements in our face for the sake of all the fanboys clapping at something they remember from their childhood. I mean, yeah, I cheered and got a little teary-eyed when I first saw the Millennium Falcon in The Force Awakens, but that kind of stuff only gets you so far. Eventually, I go, okay, but what else? I've seen this done before, what else? Andor strays away from the temptation to feed all of our burning bellies of nostalgia and instead gives us something meaty, innovative, and different in the world of Star Wars storytelling. And I will take that over a cheap mention or reference to something or an Easter egg any day. I love this show. I love it because it's great, it's so well done, etc., but I also love it for showing how storytelling in a major franchise doesn't have to constantly fall victim to feeding us more of the same, tonally, character-wise, story-wise, all of that. And for the survival of a franchise, that fresh perspective is quite possibly the most important life support. Cheers. HelloGreedo, out.